Alex Chen took a deep breath as the transport ship docked at the Galactic Confederation Academy station. His heart raced with a mix of excitement and fear. As the first human to attend the prestigious academy, he carried the hopes and expectations of all humanity on his shoulders. Cadet Chen, prepare for disembarkation, announced the ship's AI in its flat, emotionless voice. Alex checked his environment suit one more time. The Academy's atmosphere contained slightly less oxygen than Earth's, and the gravity was about 80% of what he was used to. Nothing too extreme, but enough to make him feel off balance for the first few days. Remember your training, he whispered to himself. Remember why you're here. The airlock hissed open, revealing a reception area filled with the most diverse collection of beings Alex had ever seen. Some floated, some crawled. Others stood on multiple legs or appendages. All of them turned to stare at the human as he stepped through the doorway. An official-looking alien with pale blue skin and large, pupil-less eyes approached. Cadet Alexander Chen of Earth, welcome to the Galactic Confederation Academy. I'm Administrator Zarel. We have been expecting you. Alex straightened his back and offered the universal greeting gesture he had been taught. Thank you for the welcome, Administrator. I'm honored to represent Earth in this exchange program. A low murmur spread through the gathered crowd. Alex caught snippets of translated conversation through his earpiece. From a death world. How primitive. Dangerous species. Administrator Zarel gestured toward a corridor. Your quarters have been adapted to Earth standards as much as possible. Your schedule begins tomorrow at first light. I suggest you rest and acclimate. Alex nodded, following the administrator while trying not to stare at the strange beings around him. Some looked almost humanoid, while others defied categorization. One creature appeared to be made entirely of crystalline structures that chimed softly as it moved. His room was small but functional, with a bed that was firmer than he would have liked. The lighting mimicked Earth's sun spectrum, a thoughtful touch that made Alex feel a bit less homesick. He sat on the edge of the bed and activated his comm unit. Day 1 log arrived at the academy. No major incidents. The gravity difference is noticeable but manageable. Everyone keeps calling Earth a death world, and they're looking at me like I might explode. After unpacking his few personal items, Alex reviewed the academy's layout and his class schedule. The curriculum was intense. Galactic law, xenobiology, advanced physics, diplomatic protocol, and combat training. The last one surprised him. He hadn't expected military training at what he thought was primarily an academic institution. Sleep came fitfully that night, his body struggling to adjust to the different environmental conditions. When the lights automatically brightened to simulate dawn, Alex felt groggy but determined to face his first day. The academy's mess hall bustled with activity when he arrived. Hundreds of different species gathered around tables consuming foods that in many cases looked nothing like what Alex would consider edible. He approached a food synthesizer and selected a human-compatible breakfast from the limited options. Finding an empty table wasn't difficult. Every time he approached one, the occupants would shift away or suddenly remember they had somewhere else to be. Alex sighed and sat alone, trying to ignore the stares and whispered comments. "Mind if I join you?" asked a melodic voice. Alex looked up to see a tall, slender being with feather-like appendages and iridescent skin. "Please do," he said, grateful for the company. "I'm Trill X, third cycle student of astral navigation," they introduced themselves. "And you're the human, obviously." Alex Chen, first cycle diplomatic corps. Trill X's head tilted at an angle that reminded Alex of a curious bird. "Is it true that Earth has natural disasters that can destroy entire cities?" Alex blinked, surprised by the direct question. "Well, yes. Hurricanes, earthquakes, tsunamis, and you just live there, despite these dangers?" Trillex's feathers rippled in what Alex guessed was amazement. "We adapt, build stronger buildings, develop warning systems, create emergency plans." "Fascinating," Trillex said. "Most species would have abandoned such a hostile planet or evolved differently. That's why the Confederation classifies Earth as a death world." Before Alex could respond, a tone sounded throughout the hall, signaling the start of classes. Trillex rose gracefully. "That's our cue. Which class do you have first?" "Xenobiology with Professor Kivex." "Oh my," Trillex's feathers flattened slightly. "Kivex is intense. Good luck, human." Professor Kvex turned out to be a multi-limbed being with 8 eyes and skin that shifted colors as they spoke. The classroom was arranged in a semicircle, with adjustable seating to accommodate the diverse student body. Today, Professor Kvex began, their skin rippling with shades of green and blue, we have a unique opportunity.
Can anyone tell me what makes species classification D5 significant?
The room fell silent. Then one student, a bulky reptilian being, raised an appendage. D5 species evolve on death worlds, planets with extreme environmental conditions. Correct, Cadet Grax, and we now have a D5 species representative among us. All 8 eyes turned to focus on Alex. Cadet Chen, perhaps you would share your perspective on how Earth's conditions have shaped human physiology. Alex swallowed, suddenly feeling like a specimen under a microscope. Well, humans evolved to be persistence hunters. We can't run as fast as many predators, but we can run longer. We sweat to cool ourselves, allowing us to maintain activity while other animals must rest to avoid overheating. Interesting. Kvex's skin flashed with patterns of blue and purple. And what about Earth's higher gravity? Your muscular density is remarkable for a species your size. Our skeletal and muscular systems evolved to support movement in Earth's gravity, Alex explained. It gives us certain advantages in strength here, but it's just normal for us. The professor moved closer, studying Alex with unnerving intensity. And your species' capacity for violence? Earth historical records show constant warfare. Alex shifted uncomfortably. We've had our conflicts, yes, but we've also created art, music, literature. We explore and build and dream. Violence doesn't define us, was all Kvex said before continuing the lecture. The rest of Alex's day followed a similar pattern, each class treating him either as a dangerous curiosity or a primitive oddity. By the time combat training arrived, his last class of the day, Alex's patience was wearing thin. The training hall was enormous, with various sections dedicated to different forms of combat. Cadets of all species practiced techniques specific to their physiologies. An instructor with metallic scales and forearms approached Alex. Human, the instructor said gruffly. I am Combat Master Dorv. You will train in this section with the other bipedal endoskeletal species. Begin with basic conditioning. The basic conditioning would have challenged Olympic athletes back on Earth. Alex pushed himself to keep up with the others, his Earth-adapted muscles straining in the lighter gravity. Despite the difficulty, he completed each exercise, earning grudging nods from Dorv and surprised glances from his classmates. During a water break, Alex overheard 2 cadets talking. Did you hear? They're bringing in a special combat instructor next cycle. Who? A Zerthak. The second cadet's eyes widened in what appeared to be fear. A killer? Here? Why? Something about preparing us for real threats. But having a Zerthak teach here, it's unheard of. Alex didn't recognize the species name, but the reaction it produced concerned him. He made a mental note to research Zerthak when he returned to his quarters. As the day ended, Alex dragged himself back to his room, exhausted but determined. He might be an outsider, a Deathworlder, but he would prove that humans deserved their place in the Galactic Confederation. Before collapsing into bed, he recorded his daily log. First day complete. Everyone still looks at me like I'm a bomb about to go off. Made one potential friend. Classes are challenging but manageable. There's talk about a new combat instructor coming soon, a Zerthak, whatever that is. Everyone seemed scared. I need to find out why. Alex fell asleep wondering what the coming days would bring, unaware of how soon he would face the true meaning of a killer in the classroom. 2 weeks into his stay at the Galactic Confederation Academy, Alex Chen was starting to establish a routine. Wake up, adjust his environment suit, eat breakfast, usually alone, attend classes, and try not to draw too much attention. This last goal was becoming increasingly difficult. Word had spread quickly about the human Deathworlder and his unusual abilities. What seemed ordinary to Alex often amazed or terrified his classmates. It started in xenobiology class. Professor Kvex had been discussing pain responses across different species when they decided to use Alex as a demonstration subject. Cadet Chen, would you mind showing the class your pain threshold? The professor asked, skin rippling with curious patterns. How exactly should I do that, Professor? Alex asked cautiously. Kvex produced a small device. This is a standard neurological stimulator. It produces discomfort without tissue damage. Most species find level 3 intolerable. Alex shrugged and held out his arm. Okay. The professor applied the device to Alex's skin and slowly increased the intensity. At level 3, Alex felt a sharp, unpleasant sensation, but nothing unbearable. At level 5, he winced slightly. At level 7, he finally pulled his arm away. That's enough, I think, he said, rubbing his arm. The classroom had gone completely silent. Kvex's skin had turned a pale yellow, a sign of shock, Alex would later learn. Most remarkable, the professor said finally. Your species has an unusually high tolerance for pain, an evolutionary adaptation to your dangerous environment, no doubt. After class, Trilix caught up with him in the corridor. That was impressive. Most Zelvorians would have screamed at level 2. Alex shrugged. Human nervous systems are adapted to filter out certain kinds of pain. It helps us keep functioning in emergency situations. Is that why you can break bones and still move? Another student chimed in, a small round being with multiple eye stalks. Well, yes, in extreme circumstances. Though we try to avoid breaking bones, Alex replied, surprised by the question. Similar incidents continued to happen. In physical training, Alex accidentally dropped a heavy weight which landed on his foot. He winced, cursed under his breath, and then simply continued his exercise. The training supervisor later informed him that such an impact would have shattered the foot bones of most species. Then, there was the day when the environmental controls malfunctioned in one section of the academy. Temperatures dropped drastically in the middle of Alex's diplomatic protocol class. While most students were rushed to medical care for cold exposure, Alex simply zipped up his jacket and continued taking notes. Humans regulate body temperature internally, he explained to his amazed classmates afterward. We can handle a pretty wide range of temperatures before it becomes dangerous. Perhaps the most dramatic incident occurred during an emergency drill. The academy simulated a hull breach, cutting off atmosphere in several corridors. Alex, caught between classes, held his breath and ran through the airless section to reach a sealed door. He arrived gasping but conscious to the astonishment of the safety officers. Your species can survive without breathing, one officer asked in disbelief. Only for a minute or two, Alex explained between deep breaths. It's not comfortable, but it can save our lives in emergencies. By the end of the second week, Alex couldn't walk down a corridor without hearing whispers or seeing students point in his direction. Even the instructors had started treating him differently, with a mix of scientific curiosity and cautious respect. Professor Kvex had taken a particular interest in him, requesting that Alex visit their research lab after classes. I hope you don't mind being studied a bit, Kvex said, their skin shifting through shades of blue and green. Humans are fascinating from a biological perspective. Alex sat on an examination table while Kvex scanned him with various instruments. Why does everyone call Earth a death world? It seems like a normal planet to me. Kvex's skin flashed with patterns that Alex had come to recognize as amusement. By Confederation standards, Earth is extremely hostile. The gravity alone would crush many species. Add in your extreme weather patterns, tectonic instability, diverse pathogens, and large predators. The professor's skin shifted to a thoughtful purple. Most worlds that produce sapient life are far more stable and forgiving. I never thought of it that way, Alex admitted. That's precisely what makes you interesting, Kvex said, examining a readout from one of their instruments. Your species evolved in conditions that would kill most Confederation citizens instantly. It shaped not just your physiology but your psychology. You expect danger? You're prepared for it. We're not just tough brutes, Alex protested. We have art, music, philosophy. Indeed, your adaptability extends to your minds as well. Fascinating. Kvex put down their scanner. I've been following your progress in Combat Master Dwarves class. You're performing admirably. Alex felt a small surge of pride. He had been working hard to keep up with the other cadets despite their various natural advantages. Some could move with incredible speed. Others had extra limbs or natural armor. But Alex's strength and endurance often compensated. Thank you. Professor, I should warn you, Kvex said, their skin darkening. The new combat instructor arrives tomorrow. A Zerthak named Vrakith. Everyone seems afraid of this species, Alex observed. What exactly are they? Kvex's skin pulsed with dark red patterns. The Zerthak evolved on a world nearly as harsh as Earth, but in different ways. They became apex predators, highly intelligent hunters with natural weapons and a concerning cultural perspective. What kind of perspective? They view most other species as prey, Kvek said simply. Though they've agreed to Confederation laws prohibiting hunting sapient species, many doubt their commitment to this agreement. They rarely interact with the Confederation. Having one as an instructor is unprecedented. Alex frowned. Why would the Academy hire an instructor who sees the students as potential food? Politics, Kvek replied, skin rippling with frustrated patterns. The Zerthak operate on the fringes of Confederation space. This arrangement is meant to improve diplomatic relations. And the professor hesitated, and Alex prompted. There are rumors that your species' admission to the Academy prompted this response. Some Confederation members are concerned about humans joining without understanding their capabilities. So this Vrakith is coming to evaluate me? Alex asked, suddenly understanding. Not officially, but I would be cautious, Cadet Chen. The Zerthak are known for testing potential threats. The next morning, the entire academy was buzzing with nervous energy. Students clustered in small groups, whispering about the arrival of the Zerthak instructor. Even the normally confident Trilix seemed subdued at breakfast. Have you ever seen a Zerthak? Alex asked. Trilix's feathers flattened against their body. Once, on a diplomatic mission with my family. We were advised not to make direct eye contact or sudden movements. They consider those challenges. Great, Alex muttered. Any other tips? They respect strength but punish perceived weakness. They rarely speak except to issue commands or threats. Trilix leaned closer. Alex, be careful today. I've heard Vrakith specifically requested to observe the combat class with the human student. Alex nodded, trying to hide his nervousness. I'll keep that in mind. Throughout his morning classes, Alex found it hard to concentrate. Even his instructors seemed distracted, repeatedly checking the time and glancing at the door as if expecting an interruption. When combat class finally arrived, Alex entered the training hall to find it unusually quiet. Combat Master Dorv stood at attention near the center of the room, his metallic scales gleaming under the bright lights. Form ranks, Dorv ordered, his voice tighter than usual. The cadets quickly arranged themselves in neat lines according to their training groups. The main doors slid open, and a collective intake of breath swept through the room. The Zerthak moved with predatory grace, each step deliberate and silent. Standing over 7 feet tall, Vrakith had a body covered in dark, mottled scales that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. A series of ridges ran from the top of the elongated head down to a powerful tail. The face was reptilian, but with a disturbing intelligence in the amber, eyes that slowly scanned the room. Most alarming were the Exer, Thak's hands, each finger tipped with a retractable claw that looked sharp enough to slice through metal. When Vrakith opened their mouth to speak, Alex glimpsed rows of serrated teeth. I am Combat Specialist Vrakith, the Zerthak announced, voice surprisingly soft yet carrying easily throughout the hall. I will be evaluating your combat readiness and instructing you in advanced techniques. The amber eyes continued to scan the ranks until they fixed directly on Alex. The Zerthak's head tilted slightly, a gesture that somehow seemed both curious and threatening. You are the human, Vrakith stated. Not a question. Yes, instructor. Cadet Alex Chen of Earth, Alex responded, keeping his voice steady. The Zerthak moved closer, circling Alex slowly. A Deathworlder. Your species has a reputation for being unpredictable. Alex remained at attention, resisting the urge to turn and keep the predator in view. We prefer to think of ourselves as adaptable, instructor. A low sound emerged from Vrakith, possibly the Zerthak version of a chuckle. We shall see. Combat Master Dorv, I will personally assess this cadet's capabilities today. Dorv's scales shifted nervously. Of course, Alex barely slept that night. His mind kept replaying the way Vrakith had looked at him, like a predator assessing potential prey. By morning, he had decided on a new approach. If the Zerthak wanted to test him, he wouldn't hold back. It was time to show what a human Deathworlder could really do. Before heading to breakfast, Alex spent an hour in his room doing earth exercises that weren't part of the Academy's training program. Push-ups, squats, and core strength movements designed to take advantage of the station's lower gravity. By the time he finished, he felt more prepared, both physically and mentally. The mess hall buzzed with unusual activity when Alex arrived. Nearly every conversation seemed to be about the upcoming demonstration in combat class. When Alex entered, many conversations stopped abruptly, and he felt dozens of eyes on him. Trilix waved him over to a table where several cadets had gathered. Alex, We were just talking about you. All good things, I hope, Alex said with a forced smile, sitting down with his breakfast tray. A stocky cadet with rock-like skin leaned forward. Is it true you're going to fight the Zerthak today? It's just a demonstration, Alex replied, though he wasn't entirely convinced of that himself. The last time a Zerthak gave a demonstration, the subject spent 3 cycles in medical regeneration, said another cadet. This one with translucent skin through which Alex could see pulsing organs. Thanks for the encouragement, Alex muttered, picking at his food. Trillix's feathers rippled with concern. We've been researching Zerthak biology and fighting techniques. We thought it might help. Alex looked up, genuinely touched. You have? Of course, Trillix said. You may be a strange Deathworlder, but you're our classmate. The rock-skinned cadet who introduced himself as Gorvin activated a small holographic projector. Zerthak evolved as ambush predators. They have excellent night vision but can be disoriented by sudden bright lights. Their scales are tough but flexible, added the translucent cadet named Pelix. The most vulnerable areas are under the jaw and at the joints. For the next 20 minutes, the group briefed Alex on everything they had discovered about Zerthak physiology and fighting style. They weren't just afraid of Rakith, Alex realized. They were angry about the way the instructor had singled him out. Why are you all helping me? Alex asked finally. When I first arrived, most of you wouldn't even sit at the same table. Gorvin's rocky features shifted into what might have been a smile. You've proven yourself different from what we expected. You work hard. You don't complain. And now you're facing something dangerous that none of us want to face. Besides, Trillix added, we're curious to see what happens when a predator faces a Deathworlder. Professor Kavex caught Alex in the corridor before his first class. Cadet Chan, a moment. Alex stepped aside with the professor, whose skin was cycling through concerned patterns of deep blue and purple. I've spoken with Administrator Zarel about Specialist Vrakith's methods, Kavex said quietly. Unfortunately, the political situation is complex. The demonstration will proceed as planned. I figured as much, Alex said. You should know something about Vrakith. Kavex continued, lowering their voice further. They were not randomly selected for this position. They specifically requested assignment to the Academy after learning of Earth's admission to the Confederation. Alex frowned. Why would a Zerthak care about humans joining? The Zerthak value their status as the Confederation's premier warrior species. They've been watching Earth's development with concern. Your physical capabilities, combined with your technological advancement, represent a potential challenge to their position. So this isn't just a demonstration. It's a test. Kavex's skin darkened. I believe it may be more than that. Be extremely cautious, Cadet. Accidents have been known to happen during such demonstrations. The morning classes crawled by, each minute bringing Alex closer to the confrontation. He found it nearly impossible to focus on lectures about galactic law and diplomatic protocol, when all he could think about was the coming demonstration. When Alex finally entered the combat training hall, he was surprised to find it had been reconfigured. The usual training equipment had been moved aside, and a large circular area had been marked out in the center. Seats had been arranged around this makeshift arena, and they were filling quickly with cadets and even some instructors. Quite the audience, Alex muttered to himself. Combat Master Dorv approached, his metallic scales reflecting his obvious tension. Cadet Chen, Specialist Vrakith has requested you prepare in the auxiliary room. You will be called when the demonstration is ready to begin. The small preparation room contained basic medical supplies and water. Alex spent the time stretching and mentally reviewing everything he had learned about Zerthak fighting techniques. He tried to calm his racing heart, reminding himself that this was supposed to be a controlled demonstration, not an actual fight. After what seemed like hours but was probably only 20 minutes, the door slid open. Vrakith stood in the doorway, amber eyes studying Alex with cold calculation. Are you prepared, human? The Zerthak asked, voice deceptively soft. Ready when you are, instructor, Alex replied, keeping his voice steady. Vrakith's mouth opened slightly, revealing those razor-sharp teeth. Good. Today you will help me demonstrate the difference between raw strength and true combat expertise. They walked together into the main hall, where a hush fell over the assembled audience. Alex was shocked to see that the number of spectators had doubled. Even Administrator Zarel was present, seated alongside other high-ranking Academy officials. Vrakith stepped into the circle and gestured for Alex to join them. Today's demonstration will show how a technically superior fighter can overcome even the most physically powerful opponent. The Zerthak announced to the audience. The human has agreed to assist. Alex took his position opposite Vrakith, trying to control his breathing and heart rate. The Zerthak moved with fluid grace, circling slowly. We will begin with basic defensive postures, Vrakith instructed. Attack me, human. Alex hesitated, then launched a straightforward punch, deliberately telegraphed and slower than his true capabilities. Vrakith easily deflected the blow, using Alex's momentum to throw him off balance. You see? The human relies on strength, not technique. The Zerthak commented to the audience. Again, cadet. For the next 10 minutes, Vrakith continued the demonstration, allowing Alex to attack and then countering with increasingly painful defensive moves. Each time, the Zerthak would explain the technical principle involved. But Alex noticed the counterstrikes were becoming harder, the joint locks tighter, the throws more violent. This wasn't just a demonstration anymore. It was becoming a real fight, but one where only one side was allowed to actually attack. After a particularly brutal throw that left Alex gasping on the mat, Vrakith addressed the audience again. Now we will demonstrate advanced countermeasures against an aggressive opponent. The Zerthak turned to Alex, amber eyes gleaming with a predatory light. Attack me with full force, human. Do not hold back. Alex rose slowly to his feet, realizing this was the moment Vrakith had been building toward. The Zerthak wanted him to attack all out, to justify an equally powerful response. But Alex also knew this might be his only opportunity to show what he was truly capable of. Drawing on his academy training and years of martial arts study on Earth, Alex circled cautiously. This time, when he struck, it was with his full human speed and strength, a combination that took advantage of Earth's higher gravity and the resulting muscle density. Vrakith moved to counter as before, but Alex's attack was faster than the Zerthak expected. His fist connected with the predator's side, not hard enough to cause injury but sufficient to show he'd made contact. A murmur ran through the audience. The Zerthak's eyes narrowed. Better, they hissed. Again. Alex pressed his advantage, using techniques specifically designed for his human physiology. He couldn't match the Zerthak's natural weapons or predatory instincts, but he could leverage his earthborn endurance and adaptability. Vrakith blocked most of Alex's strikes, but not all of them. The demonstration was becoming a genuine contest, and Alex could sense the Zerthak's growing frustration. The counterattacks became faster, the claws extending further with each strike. You surprise me, human, Vrakith said during a brief pause, voice low enough that only Alex could hear. But you are still prey. All non-Zerthak are prey. On Earth, Alex replied between controlled breaths, humans are the apex predators. Something dangerous flashed in Vrakith's eyes. Then let us see what happens when apex predators meet. What followed could no longer pretend to be a demonstration. Vrakith attacked with blinding speed, claws fully extended. Alex barely managed to dodge the first strike, which would have opened his chest had it connected. The audience gasped collectively. Specialist Vrakith, Combat Master Dorf called out. This exceeds the parameters of the demonstration. The Zerthak ignored him, pressing the attack with predatory focus. Alex found himself fighting defensively, using every technique he had learned at the academy and on Earth to avoid those lethal claws. You see, Vrakith called to the audience as they continued to attack. The human's advantage disappears when faced with superior evolution. This Specialist Vrakith. News of the confrontation between Alex and Vrakith spread throughout the academy like wildfire. By evening, Alex couldn't walk down a corridor without drawing stares and whispers. Some looked at him with newfound respect, others with concern, and a few with what seemed like pity. Alex ignored them all as he made his way to Professor Kavex's laboratory. The professor had sent an urgent message requesting a meeting, and Alex suspected it wasn't for another routine examination. Kavex's skin was cycling through dark, worried patterns when Alex entered. Cadet Chen, I've been researching Zerthak combat traditions. What happened today wasn't just a demonstration gone too far. I figured as much, Alex said, sitting on a stool across from the professor. In Zerthak culture, what Vrakith did was the first stage of a dominance challenge. Tomorrow won't be a demonstration either. It will be what they call a hunt trial. A ritualized combat where they establish superiority over potential rivals. So I'm not just representing myself anymore, Alex said slowly. I'm representing humanity in some kind of Zerthak ritual combat? Precisely. Kvex's skin pulsed with urgency. I've spoken with Administrator Zarel again. She agrees the situation has escalated beyond acceptable parameters, but her hands are tied by Confederation politics. The Zerthak delegation has significant influence in certain circles, so the demonstration goes ahead as planned. Yes, but you should know that in traditional hunt trials, serious injury is common. Kvex hesitated, and there have been fatalities. Alex felt a chill run down his spine. You're saying Vrakith might actually try to kill me? Not explicitly. The Zerthak are careful to maintain plausible deniability, but accidents do happen, especially when dealing with an unpredictable Deathworlder who might force them to defend themselves. Alex took a deep breath, processing this information. What are my options? You could withdraw, Kvex suggested, though their tone suggested they knew what Alex's response would be, and confirm every negative stereotype about humans. No thanks. Alex shook his head firmly. What else? You could file a formal protest with the Confederation Educational Council. They might intervene, though not before tomorrow's class. And if I go through with it? Kvex's skin darkened further. You would need every advantage possible. The Zerthak evolved as perfect killing machines. Their reflexes are faster than yours. Their natural weapons are lethal. Their scales provide protection you don't have. But they have weaknesses, Alex insisted. Every predator does. Yes. Kvex activated a holographic display showing detailed Zerthak anatomy. Their eyes are sensitive to certain light frequencies. Their scales are thinnest at the joints. Their tail, while powerful, can throw them off balance if they miss a strike. But exploiting these weaknesses would require perfect timing and execution. Alex studied the display intently, committing each detail to memory. I'll need to prepare tonight. Is there a training room I can use privately? I can arrange access to the auxiliary combat hall. It's usually reserved for instructor practice, but I have sufficient clearance. Kvex's skin shifted to a slightly more hopeful shade. What are you planning, Cadet Chen? Vrakith expects me to fight like an academy cadet with some human variation. That's what they prepared for. But I'm going to show them something they've never seen before. Alex stood, feeling more determined than afraid. I need to contact Earth. Is that possible from here? Yes, though there will be significant transmission delay. The communication center can arrange it. Good. There's someone I need to talk to. 2 hours later, Alex sat in a private communication booth, waiting for his transmission to reach Earth and for a response to return. The screen finally flickered to life, revealing the face of his former martial arts instructor, Master Cheng. Alex, this is unexpected. How is the Academy treating you? Master Cheng's voice came through clearly despite the millions of miles of space between them. It's been educational, Master Cheng, but I need your advice. Alex quickly explained the situation with Vrakith, describing the Zerthak's fighting style and physical capabilities as accurately as he could. Master Cheng listened intently, his weathered face growing more serious. This is no longer a sporting contest, Alex. This predator intends to establish dominance, potentially lethal dominance. I know. That's why I need your guidance. You were always one of my most dedicated students, but you were never the strongest or the fastest. Do you remember what I told you was your greatest strength? Alex smiled slightly. Adaptability. Exactly. Humans didn't become Earth's apex predators through strength alone. We outthink our opponents. We use tools. We change strategies when old ones fail. Master Cheng leaned closer to the camera. The Zerthak expects to face a human fighting like a Zerthak. Don't give them what they expect. For the next 40 minutes, Master Cheng reminded Alex of techniques they had practiced years ago. Not the formal martial arts taught at tournaments, but practical combat methods developed over centuries of human conflict. By the time the transmission ended, Alex had a clearer idea of his approach for tomorrow. From the communication center, Alex went directly to the auxiliary combat hall that Professor Kvex had arranged for him. To his surprise, he found Trilix, Gorvin, and several other cadets waiting outside. What are you all doing here? Alex asked. Helping you prepare, Trilix said, feathers rippling with determination. If you're going to face Vrakith tomorrow, you need practice partners. We've studied how the Zerthak move, added Gorvan. We can simulate their attacks. Alex felt a surge of gratitude. Thank you. I could definitely use the help. For the next several hours, Alex practiced with his classmates. Each tried to mimic Zerthak movement patterns based on what they had observed during the demonstration. Alex worked on timing, positioning, and the specialized techniques Master Chung had reviewed with him. "You're fighting differently now," Trilix observed during a break. "These aren't Academy techniques. They're Earth techniques," Alex explained. "Specifically developed to use a smaller opponent's advantages against a larger, stronger one." "Will it be enough?" asked Pelix, the translucent cadet. "I don't know," Alex admitted, "but it's my best chance." After his classmates left, Alex continued training alone, refining his movements and mentally rehearsing his strategy. He knew tomorrow would require perfect execution and timing, and probably a bit of luck as well. By the time he returned to his quarters, Alex's muscles ached with exhaustion, but his mind felt clearer than it had all day. He recorded a brief message to his family back on Earth, keeping his tone casual and not mentioning the coming confrontation. No need to worry them. As he lay in bed, Alex's mind drifted back to his childhood in rural China, where his grandmother had first told him stories about the animals of Earth. One story in particular came to mind: how the small mongoose could defeat the deadly cobra, not through greater strength, but through speed, agility, and fearlessness. "Tomorrow," Alex whispered to himself, "I'll be the mongoose." Morning came too quickly. Alex woke before his alarm, his body tense with anticipation. He went through a careful stretching routine, ate a light breakfast alone in his room, and reviewed his strategy one last time. When he finally left for the combat hall, Alex was surprised to find Professor Kvex waiting outside his door. "Cadet Chen," the professor said, skin shifting with concern, "I've come to walk with you to the hall." As they walked through the corridors, Kvex spoke quietly. "I've made certain modifications to the environmental controls in the combat hall. Nothing that violates regulations, but the gravity will be precisely calibrated to Academy standard, the lighting adjusted to optimal human visual range, and the temperature set to what your records indicate is your preferred combat environment." "Thank you, Professor," Alex said, touched by the support. "I've also ensured that medical personnel are standing by, though I sincerely hope their services won't be needed." Kvex's skin darkened. "Cadet Chen, Alex, you don't need to do this." "Yes, I do," Alex replied firmly. "Not just for me, but for all humans who will come to the Academy after me. We need to establish that we belong here." "Your species has remarkable determination," Kvex observed. "It's how we survived our death world," Alex said with a small smile. The combat hall was even more crowded than the previous day. Word of the confrontation had spread beyond the Academy. Alex spotted several beings wearing Confederation diplomatic insignia. This wasn't just a class demonstration anymore. It had become a symbolic encounter between two species. Combat Master Dorv approached as Alex entered, looking uncomfortable. "Cadet Chen, Specialist Vrakith has requested specialized combat attire for today's demonstration. You are permitted the same consideration if you wish." Alex shook his head. "My regular training uniform will be fine." Dorv lowered his voice. "Be careful, human. I have served alongside Zerthak before. They do not take challenges to their supremacy lightly." "I'm not challenging anything," Alex said. "I'm just defending myself." To a Zerthak, that is the same thing. Alex took his position in the preparation room, using the time to center himself mentally. He could hear the murmur of the crowd growing louder as more spectators arrived. It seemed the entire Academy wanted to witness this confrontation. The door slid open, but instead of Vrakith, Administrator Zar-El entered. Her large pupilless eyes studied Alex with an unreadable expression. "Cadet Chen," she said. Vrakith attacked with predatory precision, each movement flowing into the next with lethal grace. The Zerthak no longer bothered to explain techniques to the audience. This was combat in its purest form, a hunter pursuing prey. But Alex wasn't behaving like prey. Instead of backing away defensively as expected, he moved laterally, constantly circling, never remaining in one place long enough to become a fixed target. He had studied Earth predators all his life: wolves, lions, sharks, and knew their common weakness. They expected prey to flee directly away from them. "Stand and fight." "Human," Vrakith taunted after another missed strike. "Show us the famous Deathworlder courage." Alex didn't respond, conserving his breath and energy. Master Chung's voice echoed in his mind. Let your opponent waste energy. Let them grow frustrated. Patience defeats power. The audience watched in tense silence as the combat continued. What had started as a demonstration was clearly something much more serious now. Even Combat Master Dorf had stopped pretending, his eyes tracking every potentially lethal move with growing concern. Vrakith's attacks grew more aggressive as Alex continued to evade without directly engaging. The Zerthak's tail lashed out, nearly sweeping Alex's feet from under him. Only a quick jump, aided by the station's lighter gravity, saved him. "This is not combat," Vrakith snarled. "This is evasion, typical of a primitive species." "Intelligence isn't primitive," Alex replied calmly. "Knowing when not to fight is as important as knowing how to fight." The words seemed to enrage the Zerthak. Vrakith launched a blistering series of attacks, claws fully extended, moving faster than before. Alex couldn't evade completely this time. A glancing blow caught his shoulder, tearing through his uniform and drawing blood. A murmur ran through the audience. "First blood had been drawn, you see," Vrakith called out, circling again. "Deathworlder or not, humans lack the natural weapons needed for true combat supremacy." Alex touched his shoulder briefly, assessing the damage. The cut was shallow, painful but not debilitating. "Natural weapons aren't everything," he said, loud enough for the audience to hear. "Humans evolved differently." "Yes," Vrakith mocked. "You evolved to run and hide." "No," Alex corrected, shifting his stance. "We evolved to adapt." Something in Alex's tone made Vrakith hesitate momentarily. That brief pause was all Alex needed. He didn't attack directly. Instead, he feinted left, then dropped low and swept his leg in a circular motion that caught the Zerthak off guard. The move didn't have much power, but it disrupted Vrakith's perfect balance just enough to cause a stumble. The audience's collective intake of breath was audible. No one had expected the human to land a blow, however minor. Vrakith recovered quickly, amber eyes now burning with genuine anger. A lucky move. It will not happen again. But it did happen again. And again. Alex wasn't fighting according to any style the Zerthak recognized. He mixed techniques from a dozen Earth martial arts, changed rhythms unpredictably, and used the environment to his advantage, at one point even briefly running up a wall to avoid a tail strike. "What is this?" Vrakith demanded, frustration evident in their voice. "No recognized combat form behaves this way." "It's called human adaptability," Alex replied, circling again. "We take what works and discard what doesn't. We learn from every encounter, every environment. That's how we survived our death world." The Zerthak hissed, a sound that sent chills down the spines of many in the audience. "Enough games. I will show you true combat." What followed was an escalation beyond what anyone expected in a demonstration. Vrakith moved with renewed focus and deadly intent. Alex found himself hard-pressed to avoid the attacks, which now came from multiple angles simultaneously. Claws, tail, even the Zerthak's armored head used as a battering ram. A particularly vicious strike caught Alex across his chest, shredding his uniform and leaving 4 parallel cuts. Not deep enough to be life-threatening, but painful and bleeding. Alex stumbled back, momentarily disoriented by the pain. Vrakith pressed the advantage, driving Alex toward the edge of the circle. "Your adaptability has limits, human. Accept the natural order." Alex felt his back nearly touch the boundary line. One more step and he would be forced out of bounds, a technical defeat that would save his pride but confirm the Zerthak's superiority in the eyes of the Confederation. Time seemed to slow as Alex considered his options. He could step back, concede the match, and live to fight another day. It would be the sensible choice. But something deeper drove him. Not just pride or stubbornness, but the knowledge that this moment would shape how the galaxy viewed humanity for generations to come. If he yielded now, humans would forever be seen as physically capable but ultimately inferior to the true predator species. In that frozen moment, Alex remembered another lesson from Earth's history. Humans hadn't just survived their death world through physical adaptation. They had developed something perhaps even more powerful: psychological warfare. Instead of backing away, Alex planted his feet firmly and did something that shocked everyone in the audience, especially Vrakith. He grinned. It wasn't a pleasant smile or a polite expression. It was a full, wide-open baring of teeth, the kind of grin that showed every incisor and canine, stretching his lips back in what looked, to non-human species, like a threatening display. Vrakith actually paused, momentarily confused by this unexpected response. In Zerthak culture, as in most predator societies across the galaxy, showing teeth was a direct threat, a prelude to attack. Yet this human, bleeding and cornered, was displaying teeth while making direct eye contact, a combination that triggered deep instinctive responses in the Zerthak brain. "What are you doing, human?" Vrakith demanded, suddenly wary. Alex maintained the grin, his eyes locked on the Zerthaks. "On Earth, we call this a smile. It means many things. Right now, it means I'm not finished yet." While Vrakith was still processing this bizarre behavior, Alex made his move. Instead of trying to escape around the Zerthak, he charged directly forward. Another behavior prey should never exhibit. The unexpected tactic caught Vrakith off guard just long enough for Alex to duck under a hasty defensive swipe and drive his shoulder into the Zerthak's midsection. Despite the Zerthak's superior weight, the combination of surprise, Alex's earthborne muscle density, and the station's lighter gravity allowed him to actually lift Vrakith momentarily off the ground. Using the Predator's own momentum, Alex redirected their combined weight in a throw that sent the Zerthak tumbling across the floor. The audience erupted in stunned exclamations. No one had expected to see the feared Zerthak instructor thrown by a human cadet. Vrakith rolled back to their feet with predatory grace, but their composed demeanor had cracked. The amber eyes now held something new alongside the anger, a flicker of uncertainty. "You think this changes anything, human?" The Zerthak snarled. "One lucky throw does not make you a predator." "I never said I was a predator," Alex replied, still grinning despite the pain from his wounds. "Humans are something else entirely." The fight resumed with even greater intensity. Vrakith abandoned any pretense of this being a demonstration, attacking with lethal intent. But Alex had disrupted the Zerthak's psychological advantage, and it showed in their slightly less controlled movements. The fractionally slower reactions. Alex took hits he couldn't avoid, accepting the pain as the cost of landing his own strikes. He wasn't trying to defeat the Zerthak through superior strength or speed. That would be impossible. Instead, he was demonstrating something uniquely human. The ability to endure punishment that would stop most species, to keep fighting when logic said to surrender. "Why won't you yield?" Vrakith demanded after landing another slashing blow that left Alex's arm bleeding. "You cannot win this fight!" Alex, breathing heavily now, his uniform torn and stained with blood, looked directly at the Zerthak and spoke loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Winning and not surrendering are two different things. Humans learned that lesson on our death world long ago." The words seemed to affect the audience profoundly. Alex could see the Earth representatives nodding with fierce pride, while other Confederation members watched with new understanding. This wasn't just a physical contest anymore. It was a demonstration of fundamentally different evolutionary philosophies. The combat continued, both participants now showing signs of fatigue. Vrakith's movements, while still dangerous, had lost some of their earlier precision. Alex's wounds were taking their toll, his reactions slowing as blood loss and pain accumulated. It was becoming clear that neither would achieve a decisive victory. Alex couldn't overpower the Zerthak, and Vrakith couldn't force the human to submit. The stalemate itself was making a powerful statement to the watching Confederation. Finally, after a particularly brutal exchange that left both combatants staggering, Combat Master Dorv stepped forward. "The demonstration has achieved its purpose," he announced firmly. "Both participants have displayed exceptional skill and endurance. This exercise is concluded." Vrakith straightened, amber eyes fixed on Alex. "Combat Master, I have not—" "This exercise is concluded," Dorv repeated, his tone leaving no room for argument. Even a Zerthak understood the hierarchy of command within the Academy. For a tense moment, it seemed Vrakith might chide,